It's a pristine wilderness. More than 14 million square kilometers of land covered by a layer of ice that's an average of almost 2 kilometers thick. This polar desert is currently protected by an international treaty. But today there are more than 500 billion reasons why Antarctica could be under threat. I'm Cyril Vanier, and you're watching Pinch Point, where politics and geography collide. Antarctica is as vast as it is inaccessible, Earth's fifth largest continent. Humans only set foot on it a little over 100 years ago, and scientists still reckon that they know more about space than they do about what's here at the bottom of the Earth. That's not to say the work isn't being done. Researchers from around the world have set up labs there. These scientists from Argentina are studying how many polluting microplastics have drifted to Antarctica's coastline. Here, the British Antarctic Survey is measuring the thickness of the sea ice so we can all get our heads around the impact of the climate crisis. But there's some other research underway that is getting everyone worked up, from big business to governments to environmentalists, in every direction north of here.
Hands off Antarctica! Hands off Antarctica!
These protesters in South Africa are demonstrating against this ship, the Alexander Karpinski. It's been conducting polar research for the Russian geological company Rosgeo for years. Or more precisely, the crew of the Alexander Karpinski have been conducting seismic surveys. And in the past few months, it was announced that they had found something big. 511 billion barrels of oil. Economic and geopolitical pressures drove oil prices to an all-time high of close to $150 a barrel back in 2008. If the Antarctic find had been exploited then, it would have been worth more than $75 trillion. Okay, that's not big. It's huge. And it's all here, beneath the Weddell Sea. Now, for comparison, the entire Middle East's proven reserves of crude are greater, but the Antarctic find dwarfs everything else. Now, there are reasons to be cheerful. There's an international treaty that bans drilling, and the oil would be very difficult to get out of the ground. But under the Antarctic Treaty, you're not supposed to even look for oil. And remember those other experiments I mentioned? They're providing evidence that the Antarctic ice sheet is shrinking. And they're suggesting, too, that at least some of the rubbish that we're throwing away in the rest of the world is drifting into formerly unpolluted waters. What's clear is that we're already impacting Antarctica's unspoiled ice world. There's a fear that cash and politics could strain the Antarctic Treaty to breaking point.
The wake-up call is now, right? It's not in 10 years, it's not 10 years ago, it really is now when it comes to making sure that the rules and norms that have been upheld since basically the 50s are adapted to modern reality when it comes to a safe, stable, and protected Antarctic.
And there's the complication of exactly who owns what. 7 countries maintain territorial claims in Antarctica: Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom. The United States and most other countries do not recognize those claims. Nevertheless, the Weddell Sea is claimed by Chile. Oh, and Argentina. And yes, the UK as well. The UK claims it because the nearby Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory. Argentina says they're the Malvinas Islands and went to war over them in the 1980s. Geopolitics is edging ever closer to Antarctica. Pity the environmentalists who are trying, and so far failing, to get the world powers to agree to extend protected sea areas there.
Governments have failed for several years to create an ocean sanctuary in the Weddell Sea. This cannot be another year of delay and continued harm to penguin populations and other wildlife here in the Antarctic.
Look, in the immediate future, there are other threats to Antarctica that deserve attention. There's climate change, overfishing, tourism, and pollution. Even the scientists who are there to help us better understand our world are having an impact. That said, the temptation of trillions of dollars in oil revenue cannot be ignored. The Antarctic Treaty bans drilling, even prospecting, indefinitely. But that bit of the treaty does come up for review in 2048. In other words, it really isn't banned indefinitely at all.